You ever stare at yourself in the mirror just a little too long? Long enough that your own face stops feeling like you? That's where it started for me, with a mirror. And a blink, that wasn't mine. I just moved into this old apartment downtown. High ceilings, cracked walls, but cheap rent. The kind of place where the air smells like dust and forgotten stories. In the bathroom, there was this massive antique mirror, framed in dark oak, edges chipped, silver backing worn. The landlord said it was original to the building. That should have been my first warning. On my first night, I noticed something strange. When I looked into the mirror, I saw my reflection standing a little off. Not delayed exactly, but just a heartbeat slower than me. If I blinked, it blinked a split second later. I laughed it off. Old mirror, old apartment, bad lighting. But the next morning, I brushed my teeth, looked up, and saw my reflection still brushing, even though I'd already put the toothbrush down. It froze when I noticed, and then it smiled. I didn't. I swear to God, I didn't smile. That night, I covered the mirror with a towel. I told myself it was just stress, moving fatigue, whatever. But around 3 a.m., I woke up. The towel had fallen. The mirror was uncovered. And there, faintly glowing in the dark, was my reflection's face. Eyes open, staring straight at me from across the room. I turned the lights on. Nothing. Just my empty reflection. But the next morning, when I looked again, there were handprints on the inside of the glass. Smudged. Desperate. I called my landlord. He said the last tenant broke their lease early, claimed someone in the mirror was watching them. They moved out in the middle of the night. Didn't even take their stuff. So that night, I decided to test it. I set up my phone on video, facing the mirror. I sat on my bed with the lights off, just watching through my screen. Nothing happened for an hour, 2 hours. Then, at 3:17 a.m., I saw it. My reflection stepped closer, but I didn't move. It leaned in until its face filled the camera frame, eyes black, mouth stretching open. And then, it reached out, not toward the camera, toward me. I dropped the phone. When I looked up, the mirror was empty, just a dim reflection of my room. Except, my bed was empty too. I checked the footage the next morning. The video cut out right as the reflection touched the glass. When it came back, the room was empty. No me, no sound, just the faint shape of someone, inside the mirror, looking out. I tried to leave the apartment. The door wouldn't open. The handle turned, but the hallway outside wasn't there. Only darkness, and the faint shimmer of glass. It's been 3 days. I don't eat. I don't sleep. Every time I blink, I see that thing standing a little closer behind me. Sometimes I think I'm the reflection now. If you find this recording, don't look in the mirror tonight. If you already did, check your reflection. See if it blinked first. They say some houses remember you, that they keep a memory of every step you take, every laugh, every scream. I never believed it until I stayed at number 14 on the edge of town. It was a stormy night, the kind where the wind howls through the cracks and the rain slaps against windows like an impatient hand. I checked in late, exhausted from driving, and the innkeeper had shown me to a room at the very end of the hallway. He paused there, his face pale, and muttered, "No one stays in the last room, not for long." I laughed nervously, thinking it was a joke, but as soon as I stepped inside, the air felt heavy, thick, like walking into a room that had been holding its breath for decades. The walls were a dull gray, and the lamp flickered as if struggling to stay alive. I tried to shake it off. I unpacked my bag, locked the door, and lay down. That's when I heard it. At first, it was soft, a whispering, like the rustling of silk. I told myself it was the wind, but then the whispers formed words. You shouldn't be here. My heart thumped. I sat up, staring at the corner of the room where shadows seemed to twist unnaturally. The whispering stopped. Silence, except for the steady pulse of rain. Minutes passed. Then the lamp went out. Total darkness. And in the black, I felt it. Breathing. Close. Slow. And it wasn't mine. I reached for my phone. No signal. The storm had taken it. Panic rose, my fingers trembling as I searched for the door. It wouldn't budge. Not an inch. And then I saw it. Writing on the wall. Fresh, dripping letters, forming words I couldn't bear to read. But my eyes forced me. You're next. I stumbled back, falling to the floor. The whispers returned, louder now, circling me, coming from nowhere and everywhere at once. Stay. Stay forever. I tried to scream, but my voice was gone. And then I noticed the mirror across the room. My reflection wasn't mine. Eyes blacker than midnight stared back, grinning a smile that I did not have. It moved independently, reaching out with fingers that weren't attached to my body. I ran to the window, desperate to escape, but it too was gone. The glass now reflected only darkness, swallowing everything outside, leaving me trapped in that room that was no longer just walls and floor. It had grown, expanded, filling with shadows that reached, clawed, and whispered. And then I understood. The last room didn't want visitors. It wanted residents. It remembered every scream it had heard, every soul it had consumed. And now, it wanted me. I tried to fight, pounding on the door, screaming in vain, but the shadows pulled at me, cold and relentless. The whispers became screams, then silence. Morning came, or something like it. The innkeeper walked down the hallway, calling for his guests. Number 14 was quiet, too quiet. He opened the door, empty, or so it seemed. In the corner, the mirror was cracked, and inside, a face stared back at him, pale, wide-eyed, smiling. They say the house remembers, and sometimes, if you stay too long, it adds a new face to its collection. They say every town has its secrets. Some are whispered, some are buried. But in Ashwood, some things refuse to stay hidden. It all started the night Emma returned to the old house on Willow Lane, her childhood home, empty for years, silent, waiting. She hadn't planned to stay long, just enough to sort through her father's belongings before selling the place. But the second she stepped inside, she felt it. A cold. That was more than the autumn air. A presence. Watching. Waiting. The hallway stretched before her, dark and narrow, lined with portraits that seemed alive. Eyes that shifted when she wasn't looking. She laughed it off. Shadows playing tricks. Old houses do that, right? She grabbed the flashlight, flicked it on. The beam trembled as she walked. Every door she opened groaned, as if warning her, or maybe calling her. In the living room, the air was heavy. Dust motes floated in the pale moonlight. And there, on the mantel, a single photograph. Her father, smiling. But behind him, in the shadows, something else. Something that shouldn't be there. She thought it was a trick of light. But then, she heard it. A voice. Low. Almost a sigh. almost a whisper. Emma. She froze, heart hammering. Dad? She whispered back, though she knew he was gone. The house didn't answer, but the whisper came again, closer this time. Emma. It was coming from the basement. Her rational mind screamed to run. Her feet didn't obey. They carried her to the stairs. Each step creaked like a scream. The air grew colder, thicker, almost alive. At the bottom, the beam of her flashlight fell on the walls, covered in scratches, deep, desperate marks, like someone or something had been trapped, pleading to get out. And then she saw it, a figure, darker than shadow, moving just at the edge of the light, eyes red, watching, waiting. She stumbled back. The figure advanced, every step silent, every heartbeat loud in her ears. Emma, join us, it hissed. Her throat closed. Panic surged. She turned to flee, but the stairs were gone. The basement had changed. Walls twisted, stretching into shapes that made no sense. The ceiling seemed to breathe, inhaling, exhaling. She ran blindly, walls brushing against her, whispering her name, mocking her. And then she tripped. The flashlight clattered across the floor, spinning wildly. The figure loomed over her, impossibly tall, impossibly thin. Its mouth wide, too wide, and filled with shadows that crawled, writhing like snakes. You shouldn't have come back, Emma screamed. A scream that echoed, twisted, and returned to her as laughter. Cold, cruel, hungry. She scrambled, found the stairs, or thought she did, and climbed. But with every step, the house groaned, reshaping, trapping her further. Windows appeared where walls had been. Doors vanished into blackness. Finally, she reached the front door. She threw it open, lungs burning. But outside, the street was gone. Only endless darkness. A fog that moved like hands reaching for her. And in the center, a silhouette. Her father. Or what had once been her father? His eyes hollow. His mouth stretched into a grin that wasn't human. Emma, now you belong to us. The last thing she felt was cold. A hand, thousands of them, pulling her into the shadows. And then, nothing. The house on Willow Lane stands empty again, for now. But they say, sometimes, if you listen at night, you can hear her voice. Emma, calling you, waiting.